Good morning everyone. Today we are going to learn about the general anatomy of the joints. So what is a joint? If you see the definition, then joint is a junction between two or more bones or cartilages. Right? So either between bones or between cartilage. Both are considered as a joint. Now broadly speaking, we can classify the joints into four varieties. First is the structural variety, then structural classification, second is functional classification, third is regional classification, and fourth is according to the number of articulating bones. The very important classification which you people need to remember is the first one, that is the structural classification, and this classification will be taken in detail. So if you go according to the structural, we have three varieties. First is fibrous joints, cartilaginous joints, and synovial joints. First, let's see the varieties of these all joints. So in the fibrous falls the sutures, syndesmosis, and gomphosis. So we have three varieties in the fibrous joints, that is sutures, syndesmosis, and gomphosis. Second variety in the structural classification is cartilaginous joints, where you have primary cartilaginous joint, which is also known as synchondrosis, and secondary cartilaginous joint, which is also known as symphysis. Right? So don't confuse yourself between syndesmosis, synchondrosis, and symphysis. You need to clearly remember that primary is also known as synchondrosis and secondary is also known as symphysis. The third variety in the structural classification is the synovial joint. In the synovial, you have ball and socket variety, saddle variety or also known as sellar variety, condylar, ellipsoid, hinge, pivot, and plane varieties. We will see all these joints one by one in detail. So this is about the structural classification. Let's move to the second kind of a classification, which is the functional classification, and this is classified according to the degree of the mobility. So we have three varieties. This is synarthrosis, amphiarthrosis, and diarthrosis. So if we are talking about the degree of mobility, then synarthrosis are immovable joints. This you can compare with the sutures of the fibrous joint. Next is amphiarthrosis, which are slightly movable like the secondary cartilaginous joints, and third diarthrosis, which are freely movable joints like the synovial variety. Third variety of classification is the regional classification. So according to the region, right? So this is the skull type, which is again immovable. So this skull type will fall under synarthrosis, functional classification, and sutures if we talk about the structural classification. Next in the regional is the vertebral variety, which is slightly movable. So these are the slightly movable amphiarthrosis, and this again we can compare it with the secondary cartilaginous kind of a joint. And the third in the regional variety is the limb type of the joints, which are freely movable, which we have already named as diarthrosis, and this diarthrosis are all the synovial joints. So whether you say sutures, which are immovable, synarthrosis under functional classification, immovable skull type according to the regional classification. Similarly here, secondary cartilaginous means cartilaginous joints, slightly movable amphiarthrosis under functional classification, and slightly movable vertebral type according to the regional classification. Synovial variety of the structural classification, it falls under diarthrosis, which are freely movable, and limb type, which are freely movable. The last classification of the joints is according to the number of the articulating bones. So according to the number of the articulating bones, we have a simple variety, compound, and a complex joint. Simple joint when only two bones are articulating. For example, the interphalangeal joint, where only two bones are articulating. Right? So this is a simple joint when only two bones are articulating. Compound joint, more than two bones are articulating within one capsule. We will see the examples later on. And the third variety is the complex joint, when the joint cavity is divided by the presence of an intra-articular disc. So if you see in this diagram, this is the skeleton of the hand, and these are the interphalangeal joints. So what you can see here, this is one bone, this is another bone. So only two bones are articulating to form a joint, that is the interphalangeal joint. So this is a kind of a simple joint according to the number of the articulating bones. Here if you see the wrist joint, here you can see there are two bones and then some other bones, carpal bones are also present here. Also this intercarpal joints, these are the examples of the compound joints where more than two bones are articulating to form a joint. If you see this diagram, you can see that there is a presence of an intra-articular disc right within the joint capsule. So this articular disc is dividing this joint cavity into two compartments. So whenever there is a presence of such kind of an intra-articular disc, this kind of a joint is known as a complex joint. Now today we are going to see the fibrous joints only. In the fibrous joints, the bones are joined by the fibrous tissue. So there is a presence of a fibrous tissue between the two bones forming a joint. These joints are either immovable or permit a slight degree of movement. These joints again can be grouped into three varieties: sutures, syndesmoses and gomphoses. Let's first see the sutures. Sutures are present only in the skull. Here what is happening, the two bones, these two bones, they are separated by the presence of a connective tissue. In between them there is a presence of a connective tissue. This sutural side of each bone, here there is a presence of an osteogenic cells. Here there is a presence of osteogenic cells. So if we consider this to be the outer side of the bone and this to be the inner side, then there is a layer of periosteum on the outer side, and on the inner side this bone is covered by the endosteum. So this intervening sutural ligament, this one, this connective tissue, that is continuous on the outer side with the periosteum and on the inner side with the endosteum. This area between the bones, this decreases with the age, so that this osteogenic surfaces, it becomes opposed, and these sutures may synostose and get obliterated as the age advances. These sutures, they are peculiar to skull and they are immovable. According to the shape of the bony margins, the sutures can be plain, serrate, squamous, denticulate and scintillaceous. We will see each of this variety and why this kind of a name is given in the bone itself. In the next variety of the fibrous joint, syndesmosis, there is a presence of an interosseous ligament between the two articulating bones. This kind of a joint is known as syndesmosis. So as I told you that this suture variety of fibrous joints, the classification, that is according to the margins of the bones which are articulating to form a joint or specifically a suture. So if the margins of two articulating bones, that is plain in variety, that is not having any kind of rough surface, then it is known as a plain suture. If it is having a sawtooth appearance, serrated margin, then it is known as serrate suture. If the two margins of the bone, they are overlapping each other, then it is known as a squamous suture. If the margin of one tooth or one bone, it presents teeth like this, where the tips are broader than the base, then it is known as a denticulate suture. And in the scintillaceous, which is also known as the wedge and groove suture, here what is happening, the edge of the one bone, it is fitting in the groove of the other bone, then it is known as scintillaceous or the wedge and groove suture. Now let's see the examples of all the sutures in the skull itself. So this, you are viewing the skull from the front side, where you can see the two orbital cavities, and this is the nasal cavity and these are the nasal bones. So this is the one nasal bone, this is the opposite side nasal bone, and in between the two nasal bone you can see that there is a presence of one suture. So we will call this suture as internasal suture. As you can see here that the margins of the two opposing bones, here it is plain, right? So this is a plain kind of a suture. This one, this is example of plain suture is internasal suture. So if you see the skull from the superior aspect, you can see the presence of one suture which is having sawtooth like appearance, serrated margin. So this is example of serrate suture, and the example of serrate suture is sagittal suture of the skull. So here you can very nicely see the serrated appearance of the two opposing bones. Viewing the skull from the posterior aspect, you can see this is the sagittal suture, which is an example of serrate suture. Here you can see lambdoid suture. This is example of denticulate suture. Taking a closer look to this lambdoid, you can see that the margins of this bones here, this is having a teeth-like process where the tip is broader than the base, right? So this is lambdoid suture, which is an example of denticulate suture, and this is sagittal suture, example of serrated suture. Viewing the skull from the lateral side, you can see this is the parietal bone and this is the squamous part of the temporal bone. So this suture between the parietal bone and the squamous part of the temporal bone, so that is the temporoparietal suture, you can see that there is overlapping margins. So this is an example of squamous suture. Take a closer look, you can see that the margins are overlapping, right? So this is an example of squamous suture. The last in the variety of the sutures is the wedge and groove suture, which is also known as the scintillasis type of suture. Now we are viewing the skull from the inferior aspect. What is happening in the wedge and groove? The edge of one bone is fitting in the groove of the other bone. Let's take a closer look. Here you can see that this is the vomer bone. This is the upper margin of the vomer, which are also known as the ala of the vomer, and this is the sphenoid bone, and this portion is known as the rostrum of the sphenoid. So this is the edge which is formed by the ala of the vomer, and the rostrum of the sphenoid fits in this edge. So this joint formed between the ala of the vomer and the rostrum of the sphenoid, this is a kind of a wedge and groove suture, or also known as scintillasis. So to summarize, from the anterior aspect, we have seen this internasal suture, which is an example of plain suture. Viewing the skull from the posterior side, we have seen this denticulate kind of a suture, example is lambdoid suture. From the superior aspect, this is the sawtooth like appearance, serrated margin, so serrate suture, example is sagittal suture. Viewing the skull from the lateral side, the suture between the parietal bone and the squamous part of the temporal bone, that is temporoparietal suture, this is an example of squamous kind of a suture. And finally, from the inferior aspect, we have seen between the ala of the vomer and the rostrum of the sphenoid, which is the scintillasis type of a suture. So all these sutures are present only in the skull. In the syndesmosis type of a fibrous joint, there is a presence of an interosseous ligament. Interosseous means between the two bones, there is a presence of one ligament which is known as interosseous ligament. For example, you can see this is the lower end of the ankle joint, or we can see the ankle joint, lower part of the leg. So this is lower end of tibia, this is lower end of fibula. So here there is a presence of inferior tibiofibular joint, and you can see that there is a presence of an interosseous ligament. So inferior tibiofibular joint as well as the middle tibiofibular joint, they are examples of syndesmosis. Similarly, in the upper limb bones, in the forearm between radius and ulna, there is a presence of an interosseous ligament, and the middle radio-ulnar joint, that is also an example of syndesmosis. The last in the variety of the fibrous joints is the gomphosis, or also known as peg and socket joint. Here the roots of the teeth that fits in the socket of the jaw, and they are united by the means of this fibrous tissue, right? So this fibrous tissue, it actually connects the tooth in the alveolar socket. So it is the peg in the socket joint, or also known as gomphosis. So when we see the skull from the inferior aspect, you can see that this is the upper jaw, and you can see the presence of this tooth in the socket. So this is the tooth and this is the socket in which this tooth gets fitted. So this is an example of gomphosis, or we can call it peg and socket joint. Rest of the part of the joints you will see in the part 2 of general anatomy of joints. Now let's see some MCQs related to today's topic.